Hello friends, how are you all? I welcome you again to this series Wild Wild Slide episode 12, and just to just a note, I would like to share that this has been an incredible journey for me to do this show Sunday after Sunday, and meeting such incredible musicians, slide guitar players on the way from different backgrounds, different genres, and different approach to this instrument, but all playing this instrument in various genres, in various ways. This has been incredible, so much learning experience for me personally, and I'm glad I could share all this live to everybody who is listening to this feed. I will soon take today's guest in, and he is none other than Michael Messer from UK, who has been doing incredible music on this instrument, slide guitar, but in a different genre, not in Indian classical music, but in blues, in fusion, in a lot of experimental things, but using this instrument in his own unique way. I have listened little bit of his music during this process of this interview, and his music is on YouTube and everywhere. He has been doing gigs all over the world, doing music with so many different people from different genres, and I will just soon call him. I think he is already here. Hey, Michael.
Hey! Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Excellent, good. Just need to move the phone a little bit, and we're there. Thank you for that introduction. That was wonderful.
You deserve that and much more, because because the listeners of this show are expecting some great music from you, and also the stories of your life, which may let us say enlighten them in many ways, because you have wealth of experience, you have lots of years in music, and you have traveled out to different countries and with your music. So I'm sure we'll be having a very good time, a very enriching time for all of us.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Yes, dear. So how has been this journey for you, Michael? Like, how do you see yourself placed on this sofa? Let's say, or you are sitting nicely interviewing, being interviewed,
Nice.
talking to
Nice.
me.
Nice
If
way to sit and be
if you
interviewed. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Hear me?
if sometimes are you using earphones?
No.
Please do that, because otherwise the voice may crack or echo.
Okay. I'm
But
using a very good microphone.
but probably it's okay for now. I think now when you come near, probably it's much okay.
It's okay. You want me nearer? Okay.
Yes, nearer, a
Fine.
little bit nearer.
That's fine.
Yes.
That's fine. Okay.
So if you
How's that?
reflect
Is that
back
better?
just for
Is
a
that
moment.
good?
Yeah.
Good? Yeah.
Perfect,
Good. Okay.
perfect.
Good.
So if you reflect back just for a momentary flash, how do you see life? How do you see music? How would you sum it up in, like, let's say few sentences, and say, okay, Amano, this is what probably I'm feeling right now?
Well, that's a big question.
So we are starting.
Slide guitar, in all its forms, has been a major part of my life for more than 40 years.
Wow.
Music always, You know,
Mm-hmm.
my family are musical people.
Mm-hmm.
My mother played piano,
Mm-hmm.
and music was always around at home.
Mm-hmm.
So music came naturally. I never had any formal training, but music was very much a part of our life at
Mm-hmm.
home. And as soon as I started hearing music as a child, I wanted to play music,
Mm-hmm.
which was then, you know, it wasn't slide guitar. It was pop music of the time, and really that was the initial influence.
Beatles, maybe.
Beatles and all of that. Yes, I kind of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and of course the Beatles, you know, bring in Indian music into, you know, in 1966 when I was 10 years old, I first heard Indian sounding music. They didn't play Indian music then, but George Harrison played a melody on a sitar. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a very, you know, so the slide guitar came, you know, my interest in slide guitar happened very early, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
start playing it. I didn't start playing slide until I was in my early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
22 years old, about 22, when I
Mm-hmm.
really kind of focused on slide and wanted to play that style.
Mm-hmm.
There were many reasons for that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly the world music thing that we call it, the interest in Indian music. Well, it has to, you know, it's very hard not to include the Beatles in that conversation, in that subject, because, you know, 1971, George Harrison put the concert for Bangladesh together for to raise money for the famine.
Yes, 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 yes.
You know, and that's when we really started to hear, you know, Ravi Shankar, Ali Akbar
Ali
Khan.
Khan, that famous Jugalbandi, such famous, very,
Exactly,
very famous one. Yeah.
exactly. So in a way, before I knew about Indian slide guitar, I knew about sarod and sitar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and sarod was the one that really got me. Ali Akbar Khan, I
Mm-hmm.
love his music and always have loved his music.
Mm-hmm.
But alongside of that, of course, the main street, you know, as a teenager, I played rock music. I played electric guitar. I played rock music in, you know, the blues and the roots music was always there for me. Every time any artist in the pop field played anything like that, it definitely pricked my ears up.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as I say, in my early 20s, I completely dedicated myself to playing blues, really initially blues and American folk music
Mm-hmm.
and slide guitar. Slide guitar just completely dominated everything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I suppose quite soon into that journey, I started to get noticed because, like
Mm-hmm.
Indian slide guitar was a few years ago in India, uh, so was blues slide guitar in the West. You know, it had faded out of in the 1920s and 30s. It was a big
Mm-hmm.
thing. In the 50s, it resurged, and then, but you know, it had gone by the time I was in my 20s. People didn't play it. There were a handful of people playing that style. So
Mm-hmm.
when I kind of popped up playing that music, people were like, "Oh, this is very interesting." So I kind
Mm-hmm.
of got noticed. I kind of got noticed by the media um,
Mm-hmm.
quite soon for playing that style, and that propelled. You know, I started getting
Mm-hmm.
gigs, and yeah, this journey is a long, long journey. You know, and I made my first album in 1980. I recorded it in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
I was signed by a label that was
Mm-hmm.
interested in what I was doing, and then that journey just kept on going. How do I see myself in music? I see myself still as that student, still as that person trying to play like the musicians I admire.
This is so
When
much. Every musician's, let us say, bottom line or tagline. that after all is done and said and done, we always say we are still learning, we are still
Yeah,
attempting to play, we are still attempting to even understand because so much vastness is there in the ocean of
exactly.
sounds. I mean, we can name genres like it's blues, it's Indian classical, it's jazz, let's say it's pop, but so much depth. Still, every genre has so much more to say, more to give. It
Exactly
never
that.
ceases to give. It never ceases to give. Somehow, you
Yeah.
keep taking it out, and it's endless.
Yeah, absolutely that. And when I'm out as when I'm out on making, if I'm making an album or if I'm touring and performing as Michael Messer, yes, then I have my 40-year history and everything that the press has said about me.
Hmm.
But when I'm at home, no, I'm still that kid trying to learn to play.
Same with me. Same with
Same.
probably.
That's what I do. That's what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do.
true.
I sit down at home and I try to play the guitar.
Totally, I understand because we are in the same boat in that sense.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
yes, yes, yes.
I think that anybody who doesn't do that needs to take a good look at themselves,
Yes, true.
because that is what it is. That journey kind of never ends, you
Yeah,
know.
and that's what keeps you going on because if there was nothing more to do or nothing more left to explore, how would you carry on?
Yeah,
How would
exactly,
it carry on?
exactly. You
So that
have to do that.
lure, yeah, that like a rainbow on the horizon, like we go chasing it, but it never we can really go to it.
Hmm.
It's almost the same way.
Yeah, I'm
So
always trying to do it, always trying to do it better, trying to learn something new, trying to do what I set out to do when I was a child, which was be like the musicians
yes,
I admire. And I still, you know, I don't feel any different.
yes, true, 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 true.
I do when I'm on a stage now. Yeah, of course.
Hmm,
I've been doing this. I'm 64
totally.
years. I'm 64. I've been doing this a long time. So
Yes.
there is something that comes through me now, which is
Hmm,
empowering, which
hmm.
is that I have this 50-year history behind me of playing this, and it's quite a powerful feeling
Yes.
because of that experience. Um, so that's a wonderful thing, you know. If there's any benefit of getting older, it's that I've done this for a long time now, and I feel empowered when I do that. Um, but at home with the camera off and the microphone off, no, I'm just that kid. I'm still 15 years old trying to learn to play.
Yes.
You know.
So please play now, Michael. We are waiting
Oh,
really.
yeah,
We're
I'll play
looking
something
forward to
for you.
listen something. Yes, yes, please.
I'll play something for you. I'll move the mic.
Which is
I'm
this?
gonna I'm gonna move the mic the camera so you can see.
Okay, okay, okay.
I'm gonna angle this so you can see me play. Ah, there we go.
Yes, I can see very well.
So
Wow.
this is a resophonic guitar with 3 resonators. This has 3.
Hmm.
This has 1, 2, and 3, which
Okay.
is gives a lot of sustain.
Hmm. Wow. Hmm. Super great, super soothing. It's your music is getting a lot more spiritual. I hear such depth of uh, what do you say? Just depth.
Yeah,
Let's just call it depth.
I think that happens as you get older. Um,
Not just older. I mean, there's one thing to just grow old and also to mature. Like I would say mature, because that is the music of maturity.
yeah. And I used to, when I was young, I loved music played by older people. I loved music played by young
Mm,
people, but
mm,
I was always very fascinated and
mm,
I always admired old musicians because there was something
mm.
there that you know. Now I'm old, and now I'm old. I admire young musicians because of their energy.
Yes, true.
Because
Yes,
there's an
true.
energy when I see someone young play. There's an energy that you don't have when you're older. There's a power
Yes.
which is a different depth. They don't have that
Mm.
same depth, but
Yes, yes, yes.
they have that energy.
Yes. Energy, the passion.
Like, oh, I wish I could have that again.
Yes, very true. Very true
um,
reflection.
it's yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's playing bottleneck. What you know, regular upright style. I also play lap steel style as well.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's a very you know the way that we play, you and I, is very closely related. It's very closely related.
Yes, 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 yes. Michael, there's a question which comes to me whenever I am talking to blues musician or musician around that genre. That how do a blues musician practice? Like we in Indian music, we know that we practice the ragas, the scales, and this up and down, and this and that, and all that. How would a blues or a slide guitar player, let's say a Western slide guitar player, would practice? What is his routine?
It's actually the same. You know,
Okay.
as you know, I work with a lot over the past 7 years with Manish Pingley. He and
Hmm.
I, we've recorded an album together and we tour together a lot. So Manish is here a lot. I see
Hmm.
him. You know, he spends a lot of time in my house.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think it's any different. I think that I think there's a what is called classical music in India
Hmm.
and is called classical music in the West is a different thing.
Hmm.
And Indian classical music, in its culture, in a way, is closer to the music that is closer to the blues and the folk and the roots music than it is to the classical music. So yes, you have a more formal training. Um, I didn't have a guru. I didn't learn in that way. I taught
Hmm.
myself, but
Hmm.
in a way, my gurus were the musicians that I met and worked with.
Hmm.
Um, spend a lot of time studying musicians on
Hmm.
recordings, which
Hmm.
again you do, same thing. You know,
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it's any different in a way the
Hmm.
practice regime. Um, what I like about Indian classical music and the Indian classical music world is that
Hmm.
you have formalized these things. You've
Hmm.
given them names. You know, you've
Hmm.
given them. It's become a classical form, and I think
Hmm.
we touched on this the other day when you and I spoke on the phone.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that what I do, blues and roots and folk music, and I think this is heading into being a Western classical music. I
Oh,
think it's going there. It's not
because
there yet.
it's getting organized or
Exactly that.
classified internally, classified
Yes,
in
and rock
scales, in
music.
progressions.
Absolutely
Hmm.
that. And rock music and
Hmm.
jazz. And it's all
Hmm.
becoming a classical form because it's becoming written down. There are
Hmm.
certain ways you must do this.
Hmm.
And more and more as time goes by, the rules kind of get more strict. and
Mm.
the music that was started as a folk music, you know, the blues that was started as a folk music by African Americans 100 years ago,
Mm.
is now played all over the world, is written down. It is a genre, and it is becoming, I think it is becoming a classical music. I don't know.
Do
I
you
don't
say
know.
it's a good thing
I
or a
don't know
bad
how
thing?
that happened. I don't know at what point we all say it is classical music, but I see it going there.
And you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, or is it, will it lose its original spirit in that way,
I think
or
I think it lost its original spirit
already?
when it no. I think it well. I think it's a strange thing because music that was played by African Americans in
Mm.
the turn of the 20th century is
Mm.
now played all over the world in
Mm.
every country. So
Mm.
it's I think maybe it lost something in the when it first left that culture,
Mm. Mm.
but
But it gained also many things
it
when
gained.
other
Yes,
people
I think so.
contributes.
I think
Mm.
so. Yes, I think
So it's
so.
never lost in a way, but it transforms, transmutes, and takes different colors and shapes
Absolutely.
and approaches. So it becomes all inclusive, more inclusive, more
Yeah,
inclusive.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's becoming a classical form. That's all I can say, and
And
I
where,
believe
yeah.
that classical form will be closer to your classical form, Indian
Mhm.
classical music, than
Mhm.
to Western classical music, because Western
Mhm.
classical music is a very is all written. There's no improvisation. Um, it's a very different thing. But this is
Mhm.
much closer in spirit,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
you know to your music. And I think
Mhm.
that's why so many Western musicians turned on and still turn on to Indian music, because
Mhm.
of the improvisation and the fact that it is coming from a similar place in our heads.
Mhm.
It works in a similar way.
Mhm.
Um,
Very
yeah,
true, very true, very true. Very good observation. And yeah, well, when things grow, I mean, the it changes, and change is not
yeah,
always bad. It change is also good in many ways, because many things are added, and many things would make it enriched or
absolutely.
multicolored, multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think I see the same thing happening with Indian music, and
yes,
it's the same. It's reaching
it's
out
same.
now.
It's yes, yes, yes. Because if it's alive, it will evolve. It cannot stay dead and just there.
Yeah,
So if it is, if anything that which is alive will grow, will
yeah,
grow.
absolutely. And what's happening to Indian slide guitar now? Well,
Yes.
I've known Indian slide guitar for around 40 years. Yeah, I mean, I heard it very early on. I used to, it's
Mm.
now like so many things. It's everywhere. You know, there are lots of musicians popping up now. Um,
Mm.
it's a whole different
And
thing.
doing exciting stuff,
Yeah,
very exciting stuff, very exciting, very,
absolutely.
very innovative and very creative. And they are like, and since they are young also, so they bring that energy of passion and confidence into it, and they want to like make a point, almost make a
Mhm.
point.
Yeah,
So this is also
absolutely
good.
that.
It's also good.
And
And
what I love about that for me is that there are various theories of where and how slide guitar started.
mm,
And certainly that all connects to Hawaii and the Hawaiian Islands.
yes, yes, yes.
But I also believe that, and I have read a fair amount about it, that
Mm.
it went into the Hawaiian Islands from India. So,
Oh,
so I think that it's quite interesting that it's.
please explain a bit in not very detailed, but at least please explain further.
I'll
Why
read.
do you
I'll
think
read.
that?
I'll read you a very short paragraph about something.
Okay, okay, okay.
It's about a musician called Gabriel Davion. And Gabriel Davion was the name he was given. He was an Indian boy. And this is in 1876. So the Davion claim is intriguing. The first and so far the only documented source of this story is a statement by the composer Charles E. King, who said that on one of his radio station broadcasts in the late 1930s, he said this: "In 1884, I was living in Maui, and there appeared in the village a group of musicians from Honolulu, one of whom was Gabriel Davion, a young Indian man who was kidnapped by a sea captain and finally brought to Honolulu. This guy Davion attracted a great deal of attention because he had a new way of playing the guitar." And then what goes on. But
wow,
so
this is very interesting.
What the belief is that he played the Vadyam. I always get that. That's a difficult one for me. You say it, the instrument, Vadyam. N. Ravi Karan.
Go to Vadyam. You mean?
There you go. You see, that's how you say it. Yeah. So it's believed that he played that instrument with an ebony rod, and it's believed that by the time he reached Hawaii, that instrument didn't exist. It had been destroyed or lost. So it's very easy to play it on a Spanish guitar, and that's sort of where they believe. There is a certain school of thought that thinks that's how it came into the Hawaiian Islands, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Already in Hawaii, you had Mexican musicians because they had the laborers were Mexican. They used to bring in Mexican laborers.
Yeah.
They would open tune their guitars, and they would play not with a slide, but they would open tune their guitars. So an open tuned guitar and a child and a young man who plays on an Indian slide instrument, the two things go very easily together.
Very interesting to know.
And I think there's possibly some truth in that.
Must be.
So that's something I really love, is that I think it's done a full circle. I think it's amazing what is happening with Indian slide guitar, because it's pushed, because it's a classical form, and because of the way Indian musicians push the technical side to virtuosity is everything. In blues, feel is everything. In Indian classical music, virtuosity and feel, but virtuosity is so important, and that's pushed the instrument. So when I heard Brij Bhushan Kabra 35 years ago, and love his music, Allure of the Desert, Call of the Valley.
Yes,
I love those records. When 20 or 25 years ago I heard Debashish Bhattacharya, whoa! I suddenly heard something that I'd never heard before.
Wow.
Because this guy was doing something technically that I didn't know you could do that with a slide guitar. What Brij Bhushan Kabra was doing was what I do, but with a different music. What Debashish was doing when I first saw him was a whole new way of, wow.
He took it to some other planet almost.
Exactly that. That. Wow, yes. I didn't know you could do that. With that accuracy and with that, and then of course there are now people like yourself, Manish Pinglay, and so on, who are playing in that way. It's fantastic. It's just wonderful to see.
Yes, wonderful. Manish has just joined us, and let's say hello to Manish.
Hello, Manish.
And so now we can talk about.
Manish knows this room very well.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah, he sits on the floor right by where I'm right here playing a lot.
Oh wow! So So let's talk about your band with him,
Okay.
and tell us something about it, how it started, and what have you done with these three guys?
Well, as I say, I known about British Cabra's music. I heard Call of
Mm.
the Valley. I heard Call of the Valley in the early 1980s. Before that, I'd listened to Indian film music, Bollywood music.
Mm.
I used to buy cassettes. I used to buy these things. Look, I used to buy cassettes like this.
Yes, those were the days. I
These things. I
remember.
love these.
I know, my
These
God.
ones.
Oh my God. You still
Yeah,
have them.
I used to get those, and I used to get them, and I loved the fact that I was hearing Indian music played on an electric lap steel guitar. I found it really interesting. And I started going to a record shop in the Indian suburb of London, Southall, where there's a big Indian community. And I started going to a record shop, and the guy in there told me about British Cabra, and I got Call of the Valley and Lure of the Desert, 1983, around that time, 84. And as soon as I heard that music, it wasn't the Indian classical music that I understood I wanted to be part of, but it was, I would love to play with those musicians. I would love to play blues with that lineup of musicians. It would be incredible.
Yes.
And you have to allow these things to happen organically. You can't go looking.
Yes, true.
You can't go looking. These things just happen when they happen.
Yes.
So eventually, in 2013, 7 years ago, I was invited to Mumbai to play a blues festival, the Mahindra Festival. And just before I went, a friend of mine put me in touch with Manish Pinglay because he said, "Oh, you know of this guy? He's in Mumbai, he plays Indian slide guitar. You ought to get in touch, you know." So I just messaged and say, if I'm in town, it'd be great to meet up.
Yes.
Well, on that trip, it was a crazy trip for me because my band, the Second Mind Band, we all flew to Mumbai to play at this festival. And the night before the festival, I got very sick. I got very, very ill from, it happens to Westerners in India.
How could that?
And, you know, it's one of those things. And Manish and his wife Swati rescued me, basically. I called and said it'd be lovely to meet, and I've been really ill and I haven't eaten any food. And so my wife and Sue and I went over to Manish's home, and we had some food there. And the minute I walked in, of course, I mean, I had a slide and picks, but I didn't have a guitar with me. So on Tu Ma and Venus, we started playing together. And immediately we hit it off musically and realized that we could play music together. And we, you know, during that evening, we hit it off socially. We realized that we could spend time together. So I left Manish's that night, and I vowed that I would find a way to get him to London. There's got to be a way. There's got to, you know, these days, there's got to be a way. So I spoke to somebody who I thought might be interested in putting a concert on, and it was amazing. And he put together the trip, and we got Manish to London. And just on the way, just leading up to that trip, Manish, via a friend of his in London, put us on to a tabla player, Gurdain Riot, who is in the UK. He is pretty much the top player. And we met up in my house in this room here, and the three of us, and we played music together, and it worked. We did a show with the material that basically became the album we recorded. The show worked. And it was fantastic. This was September 2013. And
Okay.
we did one gig, the three of us, and Manish and I did a gig and a kind of workshop thing, just the two of us. And then he went home, and that was it. Well, a year later, a friend of mine that runs a festival in Switzerland, I told him about what we were doing, and he said, "You've got to come to Switzerland, you three, to Lugano." So we went and played the Lugano festival. And we had this set that we'd done in London of material, and it worked pretty well, but it was we hadn't done it for nearly a year. And the first night we were playing 3 shows at this festival, and it was a big event. It's a big event, big show, big festival. The first night we played the festival, it wasn't as good as it was in London that first time. And we were worried. We thought, we've got to do this. We've got to pull this together. And we'd already worked out some ways of mixing the two things together. How we could put an Indian sounding guitar, solo into a blues song. But it just wasn't strong enough what we had. So after that show, we decided that we would spend the next day. Let's meet up first thing in the morning in the hotel lobby. We found a corner and we said, let's work on this. And I knew of the tricks isn't the right word to use, but I knew of the techniques of creating Indian classical music, tea-highs, things like that. And I said to them, how can we put that into our music? Can we have can we put a tea-high into this music? How does that work? Can we make that happen? Can you do this? So we spent the day working that set of material and making it stronger. So it had great beginnings, great endings, good solos. We strengthened it up. And that night it went down a storm. We absolutely stormed it. So we knew we had something. And then we put together, I put together a tour, which was, I got some sponsorship. And in April 2015, May 2015, we toured the UK, and straight after the tour, 1 or 2 days later, we went into the studio and we recorded live, just no overdubs, just straight down to, just cut the record, and it worked. It just worked. And the record, Call of the Blues is the album, and Call of the Blues obviously was a nod to Call of the Valley, and Call of the Blues has been a very successful record for us. It's been played in more than 40 countries. We have done, I forget now, 6, 7, 8 tours since then. And it's hopefully an ongoing thing. At the moment, nothing's ongoing. At the moment, nothing is ongoing because everyone's at home. Pandemic.
It's online going now. It's online going.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was an incredible thing, and people love what we do. It's interesting because it's been said to me by some of the Sikh community in London, some of Gurdain's family, said it's very interesting because you're helping to take Indian classical music to places where they wouldn't normally hear it. So instead of going to see an evening of Indian classical music, they get a burst of it in the middle of something they recognize, and they can sit in a venue where they can drink a beer at a table and they can hear that music, which Indian classical music doesn't. It can't work that way. The scene is different. So it's very interesting. It's opening people's ears to something that, oh wow, I didn't know I liked that. I didn't know I liked that. We've had that experience quite a few times. And sometimes, when you're traveling, as you well know, sometimes, traveling and playing music is always an adventure. And sometimes you're playing in somewhere that when you arrive, maybe you wish you hadn't arrived. Like, really, we shouldn't, this is not our venue, we shouldn't be here. And I remember one occasion a couple of years ago, I don't know, 3 years ago or so, we turned up at this venue to play, and the three of us felt very uncomfortable. It wasn't the sort of place we should have been. It was a Saturday night. There was guys getting drunk, and there was a slight touch of a little bit of racism in the air about the fact that I'd come in there with Indian guys with Indian instruments. Just a little. No one said it, but you could feel it. Anyway, we started, and we plugged in. Rather than play acoustic, we plugged in, so it was loud. And within 30 seconds, they were jumping up and down to this music because they'd never heard anything like it, and they thought Manish and Gurdain were just incredible. They had it. They just completely had them in the palm of their hands.
Wow!
So that music reaches people. That's a great thing to do, isn't it? And we all we left there thinking, wow, that was incredible. They all shook our hands and thank you, you know, but we thought we were going to get beaten up at first, you know, so.
And you rightly call yourselves Mitra, which means friends. So you are, that friendship or camaraderie is like clearly probably shown in the music and the way you are together on the stage and everything.
Yeah. It's very much about that. It's very much about friends. It's very much about the vibe, about the feel.
And keeping the spirit, like the blues originality is there, like the spirit of friendliness, the spirit of wildness, the spirit of like that what do you say? Like you are not settled, you are just left wild.
Exactly that. Wild slide.
Wild slide, true.
But it's exactly what it is, and it's a new thing, you know. What we did between the three of us turned out to be something that nobody had ever heard before. So within the people in the media, suddenly their ears were going, and they were writing things saying, "Wow, I've never heard anyone do this."
Beautiful.
Because there had been Indian, you know, the Beatles had made pop, you know, Western pop music sound Indian. There had been various fusion things with jazz along the way, quite a lot of things where Indian, the two things blended. But this was like jumping from one to the other. So halfway through a blues song, suddenly it becomes completely Indian sounding, because I drop away, I drop out and let them go, and then it comes back.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing was an approach that nobody had ever heard before.
Beautiful.
It came because we pushed ourselves to find it. You know, we pushed ourselves.
You did well, and I'm sure you have enthralled and lots of audiences and listeners wherever you had gone, and you would. And I sincerely pray and hope and wish you continue on that journey. With three of you have a musical chemistry which is worth preserving and worth spreading in its own way and in times to come.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Thank you. And you know what's interesting was at first it was to all three of us. At first it was fusion. Okay, it was this mix of the blues and the Indian music. Now it's not fusion. It's just that's what we play. So to us, it's no longer fusion. It is just the sound of Mitra. That's what we sound like. And
that's what makes it unique, because fusion can happen and does happen in many ways in different people, but to let the musicians be themselves in a combination in a set is it is probably what makes it very unique and very important.
I've always believed that if you bring a musician into a band or into you should always let that musician speak. Don't speak. Don't tell them what to say. Let them say. You know,
Yes.
otherwise you're not getting the full thing. You're only getting
Yes.
a piece of it. You want the whole
Piece
thing.
of it.
So if you're, you know, if I invite you to play, then you play. I want what you do, not what I tell you to
Yes.
do.
Yes. Yes. True. True.
So that's always been very important to me with any musician I bring in, is that it's you have to let that musician be themselves. I also believe that it's not just about the music. It's about what happens when there's no instruments around. It's a social thing. It's about being friends. It's about traveling well together. We get on very well. We enjoy being together, and that makes the music. You
That
know.
makes the music. I know this very well because I have been in bands in different parts of the world, and I know if that friendship and that what do you say, camaraderie is not there, you cannot go further.
No, you can't. You can't. You know. So that's really important, and you know, yeah, it's an amazing thing, and it's opened. You know, for me, it's been wonderful because I've always enjoyed Indian music. You know, and traveling with, you know, it's 2-to-1 in the car. So I lose out. I hear a lot of Indian music. I hear a lot of talk about Indian music. So
Yes,
so
true.
I've learned a lot, and
Yes,
I
yes,
love that.
yes.
I love it. I love it. You know, sometimes I go, no more, please, no more. But most of the
I
time,
totally understand that. I
but
totally understand that.
most of the time, I love it, and I learn from it. So I'm very happy to
Yes.
hear it talked about, to hear the music, and as I say, I've always enjoyed it. It's always interested me, and now I know so much more about it that, yeah,
Yes.
I wish there were two lifetimes, because I'd spend much more time studying it. You know, it's a fantastic thing.
So we are almost near the end, Michael, and
We've only just got started.
that's the beauty of this show. So before we two start playing something together, just as a last thing, I would like you to say something as a message to the new generation of musicians from the wealth of your experiences, from your personal point of view, or whatever you want to share when you see young people. You have seen young people also doing things around for many years now. So, what do you want to say to them in a nutshell? In a nutshell, any genre, any just musicians of anything.
Follow your heart, follow your
Mm-hmm.
instinct. Be original. Do not
Mm-hmm.
copy people. Be original. You must be original.
Mm-hmm.
All those people we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about all kinds of people. We've talked about the Beatles, Ali
Mm-hmm.
Akbar Khan, Bhushan Kabra, Debashish Bhattacharya. They're all original. They're not copying
Yes.
anyone.
Yes.
Be original. Be yourself. Follow your heart.
Yes.
You will be told at first when you're young, oh, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Then all of a sudden, you know, it happened to me when I was young. Oh, it's that Michael Messer playing that slide guitar again. Oh, he's always playing that slide guitar. Now, oh, that's Michael Messer. He plays slide guitar. So that's very important. So I'm sure the same thing happened to you. It happens to everybody. So
Yes.
at first people will tell you, no, don't do that. Eventually they will say, oh, that's Amano Manish. He plays
Please do
slide.
that. Please do
Yeah,
that. Then they say, please
exactly
do
that.
that.
Exactly. Follow your heart, be original,
Yeah.
and take on board the history. You must know the history. You must know what came before you, and what then you can take the twists and turns. You know, you have to know all that. Again, all those people we're talking about, they all have a very, very good knowledge of what came before them, because
Yes.
that's how you become original. You take all of
Yes.
that, you take it all, you mix it up in a pot, and you add yourself to it, and something original happens.
Beautiful.
And I
Beautiful.
believe
Very
original.
true. Very true.
I believe original is more important than you have to have the
Then a
technical
copy
ability.
or a fake. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you
Very
have
true.
to.
Very true.
You have to. The originals are the
Very
ones.
true. Very true.
The originals, you know, whether, as I say, all these people,
Yes.
Bob Marley, you know, the Beatles, all these people. These are original artists with their own thing, and that's always been. Whenever I've made, you know, I've made quite a lot of albums over my time, and whenever I record, I always try to, when I hear it back the first time in the control room, I always think to myself, have I heard this before? Is this different?
Yes.
And even if it may not, something about it makes it different, and that's so important. So important.
Very, 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 very deep and very, very beautiful message, Michael. I'm grateful for such a lovely talk we have had so far. And now let's play some music. And
Okay,
because many are waiting for us to play music,
let's play music.
and let's convert it into something music.
Yeah, let's play some music. Can you, if I move this back a little bit so you can see, just tell me if you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very well.
Yeah?
Yes. Ah, wow. I love it, Michael. Beautiful, beautiful. Wow. Ah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow, pure gold.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
You keep
Go,
playing.
go,
I'll
play,
just.
play, play. Beautiful. Can you tip the camera down so I can see your guitar? Can you tip the camera so
Okay.
I can see your guitar? Is that possible?
I have to make a
I
lot
don't
of.
if it's going to knock it over.
Just
Don't
wait.
worry. Just so I can
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
Just wanted to see
No,
your
no. It
hand.
will have to make.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. sing a song. This is the song when I first met Manish Pingley, the night we first met. This was the first thing we played together. You got to move, you got to move, you got to move, child, you got to move. When love gets ready, you gotta move. You may be high, you may be low, you may be rich, child, you may be poor. When love gets ready, you gotta move. Wow, great. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. You're playing Chaturanga, not Maranvina.
No, Chaturangi.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Wow. Yeah, great playing. Lovely playing.
Yes, thank you, dear.
Wonderful. Oh yeah, I do also play lap. I would also play a lap style, which I would do on this instrument with a square neck.
Please do. We have only 30 seconds now.
30 seconds, okay. I'm going to give you 30 seconds.
Aha. Oh, great, great. Beautiful, Michael. Love it.
That's 30 seconds, I guess.
No. 8 seconds remaining.
Oh, hey.